I was going to get back into kind of, you said you trying to hire. Yeah, that's the one thing. I went to the Kansas Pharmacy Association. Great turnout there. And I think Josh was just got back from Pennsylvania's as well. Mm-hmm. And one common thread, now one person I met was fairly immune to it, but almost everybody I met was struggling with staffing, trying to hire. Can you just kind of talk through a little bit of what you're seeing out in your kind of your marketplace or your group of folks you collaborate with?
Yeah, well, I think first of all, the number of people that want to work right now, for whatever reason, seems to be really low. The workforce is just a smaller pot of people right now than we're used to it having, and I don't know if that's because of lingering unemployment benefits. I don't know if people have saved up money and don't want to be working at all. I don't know what the reason behind that is, and I don't think anybody has cracked that nut yet. But I will tell you that the overall economics of the workforce has changed dramatically over the last 2 years, regardless of the number of people in it. In Central Arkansas, we had a Costco open, which is the first Costco in the state of Arkansas. And, they've got a higher than the current minimum wage, starting wage for their people. So which is great for the folks that are working there, but it has an effect of kind of reestablishing a benchmark.
Your baseline gets reset.
For those lower wage earners. So I think that's an issue. You've got, fast food restaurants that are struggling to hire people that have increased their wages, and frankly are starting to offer some sign-on incentives, if you can believe it. I was up in the northwest part of Arkansas in the Fayetteville area.
You said a sign-on incentive for
fast food.
A fast food restaurant?
Yeah, I was driving down College Avenue in Fayetteville, up where the University of Arkansas is, about a week and a half ago, and I was driving towards campus, and McDonald's on College had it didn't say 99-cent Big Mac or whatever on their sign out front. It said $500 signing bonus. For McDonald's. And I know there are some nursing home facilities in that part of the state that are offering a $2,500 sign-on bonus and are offering, really, really nice hourly wages for their folks. So, I mean, we're just in a different world when it comes to the economics of hiring. And I say that because it's caused us to reevaluate, okay, well, if we need a delivery driver, maybe it's not maybe it's not a $11 or $12 an hour person. I mean, maybe we have to be at $14 or $15 an hour. And if that's the case, what does that do to our overall, staffing needs in the pharmacy? Can we absorb that cost? Is that something that we have to trim hours elsewhere? So that's a challenge. And then frankly, it's finding people that you want to have come work in your pharmacy is the next challenge. So, when you've got a place where there aren't a lot of people in the job pool to begin with, the ones that are there with all these jobs that are out there, you have to ask yourself, why haven't you found a job yet? Or why have people not hired you yet? And so you have to be a little more critical with what you're considering hiring. Now, we've been fortunate. I told you we hired that retired nurse, but we also had a job posting out there for several weeks. And we had, a handful of applicants and they were good applicants. Don't get me wrong. But it wasn't the 20 that we would have had, 2 years ago. It was a handful. And we also hired a new, clerk billing tech who just happens to be a college student whose schedule, she's going to school 2 days a week for school. So she's taking 15 hours, but doing it 2 days a week. So she's working the days that she's off and she wants to pursue a career in pharmacy. So those kind of fall in your lap, but they're not necessarily the easiest ones to find. So it's been a real challenge, and our story's not unique. I bet everybody's in that same boat right now.
Well, I mean, we're not really out of that boat either.
Yeah,
we're in Dallas, and initially there was like, do people want to work? What's going on? And Texas kind of led the charge in YOLOing the cutting the early unemployment benefits. So that's been gone, and it didn't really affect people coming into the workforce at all. And we were talking to one of the recruiters trying to hire a software developer, and they basically told us, 2 years ago, you'd put out an ad for a software developer and you'd get 20 applicants. You had you could walk them through, hey, you're going to interview with this group of people. Then a couple of days later, you're going to interview with this group of people. And then, then you have some time to deliberate and go. And she was like, the world's changed now. So you're going to get like 3 applications. You're going to do an interview on the day of, and if you don't make an offer that day, that person won't be available the next day. It's just it's a wild, like,
arranged marriage.
It's like asking somebody to get married during the date, right? Like you don't even get to go on the first date. You're like,
I think
this
that
is your guy.
on FX now.
I wouldn't be surprised at all.
FX does has I would say
they've got those kind of shady
shows. They do.
Yeah,
for sure.
90-second fiance.
I think that's right. And even pharmacists. I was talking to a hospital pharmacy manager up in the northern part of the state about 2 weeks ago, and I just asked him, how his staffing was, and he said they're down a couple of pharmacist positions, and they're used to being flooded with applications over the last 3 or 4 years. And he said, while they still have 8 or 10, he commented that they may not be the right fit for the job of the 8 or 10 that are available. So they're trying to sometimes fit square pegs in round holes just to be able to have enough staff to support their clinical needs. So that's it's a challenge across the board, and I don't know what the solution is, because I'm with you, Josh. I think it was easy to blame it on the unemployment benefits initially, but Arkansas was also one of those states that earlier than others cut off the unemployment benefits because they thought that was having the drain on the available job force. But that it has not shown to be the case. And in fact, the head of our state chamber of commerce testified in front of the state legislature last week that there are approximately 70,000 open positions in Arkansas right now. Now that seemed like a ton of jobs.
It seems like a huge number. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Yeah.
And one thing that's where pharmacy's different. You're right. You don't get to just set your price for everything. You know what I mean? You can't just go, okay, cool, I got to pay everybody $3 more an hour. Okay, I'm going to make sure I get reimbursed better, right?
That's right.
Unfortunately, in this industry, you can't just dial that in, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, I got an email from the place who cuts my hair, and they were like, hey, wages have gone up, so effective next time, all of our haircuts will go up by $3. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense. But you're right. Like, you can't do that. You can't charge $3 more per copay.
No, not at all. And in fact, I do lectures at the UAMS College of Pharmacy. I haven't in the last year and a half during COVID. They've done a lot of these virtual, but I do an economics lesson. And one of the first things I tell them is that while you may think of community pharmacy as a traditional buy low, sell high retail business, half of that equation doesn't really exist for community pharmacy. The sell side of buy low, sell high, it doesn't really exist. So you've really got to maximize your efficiencies. You've got to make sure your cost of goods are being obtained at the lowest possible cost. And you've got to really get your workflow as finely tuned as humanly possible and getting everybody working in sync. And that's not always the easiest thing, especially when you can't find people.